Hey everybody, welcome back to Southern Gals True Crime. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for choosing to watch this video out of all the millions of videos on YouTube that you could watch. And today I wanted to share with you a case that has been in my list of cases to make a video about for a long time. So I'm finally getting around to doing it. And I wanted to share with you the case of Michael and Monica Bennett. Michael and Monica have been missing from Brunswick, Georgia since 1989. Now, Monica and Michael are siblings. Michael was 14 years old and Monica was 15 years old when they went missing. And it's been so many years now. They've had no answers. Their family is obviously desperate to know what happened to them. And there is a lot to unpack in this case. So let's dive right into it. So Michael and his sister Monica were last seen at Heritage Apartments, which was in the 5700 block of Altama Avenue in Brunswick, Georgia on June 21st, 1989. Their mother, Deborah George, and her husband, Robert L. George, were separated at the time, and Michael and Monica were staying with other relatives. So Monica was staying with her biological father, and Michael was staying with Robert's first wife and his half-siblings on his father's side. Apparently, Robert had still been married to his first wife when Michael was born. Michael did not take his last name. It was said that Robert's first wife treated Michael very well. He was accepted into the family. And then later, Robert divorced his first wife and married Deborah, and they went on to have 4 daughters. There are reports that Monica and Michael were helping pack up Robert's apartment in preparation for his upcoming move to Alabama, and that they disappeared after he dropped him off at their mother's residence. However, according to the Bennett children's siblings, Robert's apartment was nearly empty at the time that he would have supposedly brought Robert over to help him pack the apartment up. Monica was very close to her older sister Sheila, and by 1989, Sheila was no longer living at the home, although she was still in high school at Glynn Academy, which Michael and Monica also attended. Sheila was married. She was pregnant with her first child, and she was living with her in-laws, but she and Monica spoke to each other every day at school. Early in 1989, Monica had gone to Sheila at school and said that Robert, which I believe was her stepfather, had been essaying her and that she did not want to go home. So there are lots of, in my opinion, lots of red flags in this case. So Sheila ended up taking Monica to the school guidance counselor's office. The guidance counselor took them to the police. And when Deborah, their mother, found out about Monica's allegations, she basically told police that she didn't believe them and that she thought Monica was just making the stories up because she didn't want to live at home anymore. So, well, obviously, a horrible, horrible situation. And it made even, in my opinion, made even more so hard on Monica since her own mother did not believe her allegations. So it's just a sad situation. So at that time, the matter was dropped without any follow-up from the authorities. So the mother denied the allegations, said she didn't believe them, said that Monica was just being basically maybe a rebellious teenager and was just making up these stories because she didn't want to live at the home anymore. And this was even after years early, Deborah herself had walked in on Robert, who is her husband, essaying her then 13-year-old sister. And also, one of Monica's sisters caught Robert trying to sneak into her room at night. So Deborah once again refused to believe that Robert was abusing Monica or any of the other children or her little sister. So it just blows my mind how, nobody ever, obviously ever wants to believe that their spouse, significant other, whatever the case may be abusing your children or your younger sister in some way. But to me, there was just, in my opinion, just too many signs that something was allegedly going on, and just nothing was done about it. So Michael was very close to Robert, and apparently Michael at first did not believe that Monica's allegations either, until late spring, when he did walk in on Robert essaying his sister. So Michael once again went to Deborah, the mother, told her what he had seen, and this is when Deborah and Robert separated. So finally, I guess this was the last straw. Maybe the wool was pulled from her eyes, and she did start to believe that these things were happening. So Deborah and Robert separated. Michael actually moved in with Robert's first wife, and Monica moved in with her biological father. And they say little is known about Monica's father, but her family does say that Monica would not have chosen to live with her biological father, except for she just had nowhere else to go and no better options to go anywhere else. Robert and Deborah's other children stayed with Deborah, and they saw their father on the weekends. Michael and Monica disappeared just weeks after Robert and Deborah's separation. Although he had just gotten an apartment in Brunswick, Robert decided to move back to his home state of Alabama. So by the day of Michael and Monica's disappearance, Robert's apartment was almost entirely packed up, with only some bedding and essentials that were still unpacked, waiting to be packed up and moved. On the afternoon of June 21st, Robert went to his ex-wife's house and told Michael to get in the car with him so Michael could take him over to his apartment to help him pack. So apparently Michael did not want to go with him. He was crying when they left. Robert then proceeded to pick up Monica from her father's house, and then they went to Robert's apartment complex to supposedly finish packing up the apartment. The children's aunt, Michael and Monica's aunt, also lived at this complex across the courtyard from Robert's apartment. And Michael and Monica did make a surprise visit to her before dark that evening. And they ate separate her apartment, visited her with a little bit. And when she walked them out at around 8:30 p.m., she did see Robert, their father, outside, or stepfather. So Michael and Monica walked away. Robert spoke to the aunt, to the children's aunt, and apparently in the course of this conversation, he asked the aunt to intercede with Deborah and to get her to let Deborah get Robert to come back home. So the aunt did end up calling Deborah on the payphone. Robert spoke to Deborah on the phone, and as Michael and Monica walked up the hill ahead, out of sight, and this is the last time that anyone besides Robert saw them alive and well. Robert later gave two different stories about how his son and stepdaughter's disappearances, or about their disappearances. The first one was that they ran out of the apartment while he was there, and they never came back. The second story was that he actually dropped them off at the apartment, went to run some errands, and when he returned home, they were gone. He had, basically said, I went to run some errands. I left them there. They didn't want to be in there in the first place, and apparently they just ran off while I was gone, running errands. When I came home, they were gone. I've never seen them again. So a curious thing to note is the police report about Michael and Monica's disappearance said that Robert called Deborah at around 8:30 p.m. to say that the children were missing. So Robert was speaking to Deborah on the phone about that time. So this may be that phone call. Robert asked the aunt to make a phone call to Deborah to try to intercede, try to get her to let Robert come back to the house. So Robert was speaking to Deborah on the phone at about that same time, according to the children's aunt. But she says that Monica and Michael were still within eyesight at that time, that he said that the children were already missing. So, like I said, lots to unpack. In my opinion, lots of red flags in this case. According to Michael and Monica's younger sisters, later that evening, Robert picked him up from their mother's home on the pretense they were going to drive around the streets of John's apartment complex, the John's apartment complex, Robert's apartment complex, excuse me, to look for Monica and Michael. So they drove around the complex slowly. They were looking around. He did not call Michael or Monica's names as they were driving. He did not ask any passersby or anybody he saw in the area if they happened to see Michael and Monica. He then took the children to his apartment. One of the girls recalled that one of the beds at Robert's apartment was missing its sheets and comforter. And she noticed 2 trash bags in the apartment by the front door, which Robert said contained Michael and Monica's belongings. And curiously, again, more red flags, in my opinion. Within a few days, Robert's car disappeared. His children never found out what had happened to it. Robert and Deborah, ended up reconciling within a few weeks of Michael and Monica's disappearance. They took their remaining children and moved to Alabama on a bus, leaving Sheila, one of the other sisters, behind in Georgia. So within weeks of Michael and Monica's disappearance, they packed everything up. They got back together. They reconciled, packed everything up, moved back to Alabama. So many of Monica and Michael's relatives believe that Robert was involved in the disappearances. Deborah's mother described Robert as a controlling, very manipulative, very violent. She did allege there were DV situations between Deborah and Robert, and that Michael and Monica's younger siblings also remember episodes of violent behavior by their father. After the move to Alabama, Deborah would occasionally leave her husband, but would always return to him. So unfortunately, we see this a lot with DV situations. The partner who is on the receiving end of the DV will leave and come back. It's just that cycle, never-ending cycle of violence. So often when she left, she would leave the children behind with Robert. So even though Robert allegedly had this history of violence, DV in the house, Deborah would leave the children behind with their father instead of taking them with her. Robert's brother has also been mentioned as possibly having been involved in Michael and Monica's cases, or at the very least knowing what did happen to them. He had lived with the family off and on for a few years, and Robert had also lent him money. Sheila stated that he allegedly essayed her when she was young, and Deborah, so Sheila, I believe, was one of Deborah's sisters, and Deborah had warned the other children to stay away from Robert. So at the very least, she at least had an idea, or, if not a full knowledge of what was allegedly going on with Robert. For decades after Michael and Monica disappeared, the police just wrote them off as runaways. Once again, we see this, unfortunately, in a lot of these cases, even with all the, allegations of the SA, allegations of DV, they were labeled as runaways. So both Robert and Deborah said they had run away, and that Monica had a boyfriend, supposedly, that was involved with illegal substances. The police did take reports for their disappearance, but they did not actually investigate the case until the early 2000s. So they disappeared in 2009, but their cases were not actively investigated until the early 2000s. And that is when the case was reclassified as endangered missing instead of just runaway. So Michael and Monica did not take any money or belongings with them when they disappeared. There's been no record of their existence anywhere in the country since 1989. Foul play is now obviously suspected in the disappearances, and it does remain unsolved. So Michael and Monica's grandmother, Evelyn, said that her daughter, Deborah, did not bring the children around to her house very much. And she was asked if she believes that Michael and Monica were still alive. She said, quote, "I want to say yes, but something says no. Somebody knows something. They are just not talking." So Michael and Monica's older sister, Sheila, said people should not assume that what they know is of no consequence. We say this all the time in these cases. If you see something, say something. If you know something, say something. The littlest bit of information could be that one last piece of the puzzle that helps solve a case. She goes on to say the smallest thing that they think is irrelevant could help solve it. So once again, Michael Anthony Bennett has been missing from Brunswick, Georgia since June 21st, 1989. He is a black male. He was just 14 years old at the time he went missing. He will be 50 years old as of 2025. At the time he went missing, he was 5'7" tall, 125 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes, and he does have a scar on his left knee. Monica Renita Bennett also went missing, or has been missing, from Brunswick, Georgia since June 21st, 1989. She is a black female. She was just 15 years old at the time she went missing. She will be 51 years old as of 2025. When she went missing, she was 5'5" tall, 130 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes, and her ears are pierced. So if you have any information, once again, no bit of information is too small. If you have any information regarding Michael and Monica's disappearance, did you see something that day? Were you in that area? Did you live in that apartment complex? Once again, no bit of information is too small. If you do have any information, call the Glynn County Police Department at 912-267-5700. So guys, we can help do our parts to help bring more awareness to Michael and Monica's case by giving the video a like. Please leave a comment below. The most important thing you can do is share the video anywhere and everywhere you can to all your social media platforms so that Michael and Monica's faces, their names, their stories stays out there so that they are never forgotten. If you would like to learn more about missing persons and unsolved cold cases, please consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.